So is Trump the felon now even more likely to return to the White House? We're here to debate this. It's the Shark Tank investor, Kevin O'Leary, criminal defense attorney, Mark Geragos, host of the Daily Wire's Michael Knowles show, conservative commentator Michael Knowles, and the very unconservative commentator Francesca Fiorentini. Well, welcome to all of you.
What do you get when you cheat on your wife?
Media outlets like CNN and MSNBC are fake news. Fake news.
Francesca, my question for you is, I understand how joyous you must be feeling that Donald Trump has been convicted because he slept with a porn star 20 years ago and may have shuffled some business papers about it. But why is it good for America that one of your 46 presidents has been treated in such a humiliating manner over something so trivial? And why do you guys not see that this might help him rather than hinder him in the election?
I happen to believe, Piers, that it's good for America when you hold the person who has the highest office in the land to the standards of the American law. And in this case, New York state law, where he committed these crimes. I happen to believe that it is a telltale sign of coming totalitarianism, fascism, skirting of the law when you allow a president to simply do whatever he wants and actually never hold him accountable. But look, the reality is this, is that these aren't crimes that were on the books in every single state. These are crimes that are on the books in New York State, as we talked about, all right? And so he knew exactly what he was doing. In fact, this is the most important part, is that David Pecker of the National Enquirer refused to keep on paying his hush money payments because the dude was tired of getting paid back in expired Trump stakes. This has to do with Trump making his bronzer-stained bed with a porn star, trying to cover it up, and then getting caught. If I had the misfortune of sleeping with Donald Trump, there is no amount of money you could pay me to keep quiet about it, because I would never tell a single soul. I would fake my own death and move to the Galapagos and pretend to be a bird.
Dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch.
I mean, I would say it's very unlikely you would ever get the offer, but you do look quite like Karen McDougal, funny enough.
Bullshit.
Oh, so I'm not cute enough to.
No, I just said you are. I said you're very much in his.
I love
that
that line.
actually is a compliment. Yes.
Yeah,
that's
it was a compliment.
Hey everyone, I'm Francesca Fiorentini with AJ+. You might remember me from such hits as The Real Deal with the US-Mexico border.
The Democrats tried to stop him from being president by spying on him and cooking up fake intelligence, ironically enough, with Russia. That didn't work. Then they tried to throw him out by impeaching him twice. That didn't work. Then they tried to kick him out by rigging the election and changing all the voter rules, in some cases in contravention of state constitutions leading up to that election. That did get him out of office, and he did leave office, but then he didn't go away. He kept running again. So then they indicted him 4 times. Now they've convicted him. They're going to threaten to throw him in prison. Pretty soon they're going to threaten to send him to St. Helena. But this has absolutely nothing to do with the law. As was noted earlier, at most you're talking about a misdemeanor that would have already expired under the statute of limitations. I'm not even convinced that there was really a misdemeanor that Trump committed. So my fellow panelist here is celebrating that the rule of law has been vindicated and overturned 234 years of American legal tradition. I would challenge her to see if she could possibly articulate how and what crime Trump committed, because so far Alvin Bragg, the DA, has failed to do so. The judge in the case, Judge Merchan, has failed to do so. And they can't do it because Trump didn't commit any of the crimes for which he's been convicted. Well,
let's just ask quickly before I go to Kevin. Francesca, just on that point, what crime did Trump commit?
It was financial crimes. It was white collar crimes. That is exactly
Which
what
one,
they
though?
charged him. He was convicted on.
What was the crime?
It's New York state law.
No, I understand. What was the crime?
It is New.
Francesca, actually.
I don't even like it. It is
Well,
literally.
hang on, Mark.
He just got convicted on 34 counts.
Francesca, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed. So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money, to pay off somebody, and then he logged it as something different.
Alvin Bragg, the DA, claims that Trump falsified records, which is a mere misdemeanor, and the statute of limitations expired 4 years before the indictment. So to get around that, He claims that the misdemeanor was committed in furtherance of a felony, but he refuses to say what felony. He sort of vaguely refers to, oh, Trump violated election laws. Okay, what laws? What statutes? Well, Bragg won't say, because in a federal election, he has no authority to prosecute federal crimes. He's a local prosecutor. He has no jurisdiction, so he's sort of cleverly playing hide the crime, and Judge Merchan is letting him get away with it, even though this was not an illegal campaign donation, as the DA claims.
Jessica, what was the crime?
Of like cooking the actual books.
What was the crime?
You are not allowed, so you are not allowed.
Dumbest bitch ever!
So you are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money to pay off somebody.
You are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money to pay off somebody.
And then he logged it as something different. He logged it as just a regular payment, but he was actually paying off this porn star to keep quiet, which, if he hadn't been running for president, would not have mattered, but he was, and so it impacted campaign finance laws in New York State.
What a dumb bitch.
Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this. Okay, that is what Juan Merchan just oversaw this. Juan Merchan just oversaw this. Alvin Bragg brought these charges because Michael Cohen, his sister, was already sentenced to 3 years to do it.
Okay, let's just go before. Kevin, I'll be very, very, very patient. I will come to you.
Look, I'm no expert. Let me just say, hang on.
No,
Michael,
Francesca.
You are no expert. That's
way.
because the campaign finance law is a federal law.
Hang on,
Anyway.
Francesca. I want to go to Mark. You're the lawyer. Has anything Francesca just said, is that actually the crime?
Look, let me just say, I like Francesca a lot, and we probably agree on 80% of our worldviews. However, Francesca, the way you just described it, call me afterwards and I'll educate you, because that's not what happened. There was no theory that was given to the jurors. The jurors were told it could have been campaign finance, it could have been tax, it could have been false books. They were told they didn't have to specify, and specifically told they did not have to agree unanimously. That's what irks me. Lifelong Democrat, no fan of Trump, never voted for Trump, never will. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent his entire career with kind of taking on unpopular causes and holding the government accountable, I have to tell you, I do that for a reason. And the reason is this kind of shenanigans, and that's the best light I can spin it, in the criminal courts has no place in a federal election.
No, I agree.
The campaign finance laws were federal, not state, and the state laws had nothing to do with it.
Okay, I want to go to Kevin. Been waiting very patiently. Kevin, you are a very successful businessman, as Trump has obviously been in his career too.
Are not being started in New York currently. People are waiting until things stabilize. And I've moved projects out of New York to places like Oklahoma.
Is this Francesca? I just don't get. We see you're laughing, but for Mitt Romney to come down so squarely on the side of Trump.
I do want to just say, look, so the crimes were falsifying business records. Now, the reason I didn't know that before is because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the journalist who is anchoring this entire show, who should have told you that it was falsifying business records. Now, on the other
because
point,
those aren't felonies.
I hear you that most Americans don't care about falsifying business records. I agree with Kevin and I agree with Piers. However, I will say this, most Americans also are very much go on gut. And they don't like that a candidate is now a convicted felon, but moreover, this candidate is someone who, and it is not the crime, however we know, cheated on his pregnant wife with a porn star in a hotel in Lake Tahoe and then bragged about it and then tried to pay her to shut up and also paid another Playboy bunny to also be the quiet about their relationship.
Bill Clinton had sex with an intern
people. You're
in
going
the
back to Bill
Oval
Clinton because
Office.
it's the only thing you have.
You stupid.
Well, it's not a bad thing to have.
You're going back. No one's
Unlike
talking
Trump,
about
he
Bill
was
Clinton.
president at the time.
You know, I don't mean to pick on Francesca too much here, but it's very telling that even the liberals who are going on television to defend this ruling have to Google in the breaks to figure out what the crime was, and even then, I'm sorry to say, misrepresent what the actual supposed crime was. The reason here that this has to take. Well, excuse me one second, Francesca. I'll just finish my point real quickly.
Cooking the books. That's the same thing.
Yeah. It's not a felony, not a crime. But anyway, that's a point for another time. The reason why even the great defenders of this conviction can't. Yes, to you as well. The reason that they can't articulate this is because it's not really a crime. That's why they had to upend 234 years of precedent for this. And it gets back to a point that you made earlier, Piers, and that you made, Kevin, which is that Alvin Bragg really overplayed his hand. Sure, he overplayed his hand to some degree, but what else were they going to do? Donald Trump was always going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. A lot of people feel that he was gypped in 2020. He's the biggest guy in the party. It was going to happen. And Trump poses a real threat to the liberal establishment. He's not a Mitt Romney-type Republican. He has different views from the so-called uniparty on things like trade, on things like immigration, and things like foreign policy and war. Trump posed a major threat. That's why they took such extraordinary measures for the last 8 years to take this guy out. They weren't able to do it politically. They weren't even really able to do it at the ballot box. So what's left? The only thing left to do is to try to throw him in prison so that he can't campaign for the election. I agree, it's backfiring.
This is not a federal case, Michael. You know that. It's not even a federal case. Why do you think that it's not a DOJ case? It's not a Biden case. It's not a Merrick Garland thing. It's New York state law. So the idea that this is somehow politically motivated is all made up in your head, because what you do on your show every day is you groom your audience for fascism and you set them up for a complete takeover of the DOJ. This is all about allowing Trump to get away with any crime he wants, as you sort of slighted and sort of, laid out very nonchalantly just a little bit ago. He was impeached twice. Doesn't really matter that he tried to blackmail the leader of Ukraine into digging up non-existent dirt on Joe Biden, but that doesn't matter to you
Joe
or
Biden
your
threatened
followers.
to withhold arms.
You want to make sure.
You dumb bitch.
You want to make sure that when
you're
Trump is
accusing
reelected,
me of fascism.
he can get away. He can
you're accusing me of fascism. That's a big charge. All I would point out is that it's not my party that's imprisoning its political opponents right now. So if we're going to throw that accusation about,
I was about to say one of the key tenets of fascism is you imprison your political opponents.
Pretty cool for Sean Strickland to have a moment there with Donald Trump after a win.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done.
Take a look at what's happening there at the UFC fight and take a look at what's happening on TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, we're watching the end. This is when he came in. I mean, the place went completely nuts. And the trouble is, Francesca, if I was a Democrat, I'd be quite unnerved that you've thrown the kitchen sink at this guy. And this is how a lot of the public are reacting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense that he'd be cheered at UFC. I mean, it's a sport full of actors, and we have this guy who's been pretending to be a serious politician for years now. Look, the important thing about that interview that he gave to Fox News.
You're not besmirching UFC. Hang on. Fact check. You'll think you're WWE, the actors. The UFC, they're real fighters.
'Cause I got dumb bitch-itis. I might even be a side chick.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I don't have. Cool. Good. I'm glad.
You stupid bitch.
Look,
there's a big difference. One is acting. One is hardcore elite fighting. They're very different things.
I don't have video feed, but I bet it's dope, and I stand corrected, Piers. But I will say this: all these folks who loved Trump, who followed him, who believed in him, were arrested and then charged, rightfully so, for trespassing, for rioting, for threatening the lives of Congress people. And Trump has faced absolutely no music over that. And of course, if Judge Eileen Cannon gets her way, he might never actually face the music until after the election.
He's been charged with very serious crimes in relation to that. That won't happen before the election. Instead, the Democrats, collectively, through political reasons and legal reasons and so on, came up with the mad idea of going first with the Stormy case. And that has been a total disaster because no one takes it seriously. Michael Knowles, final point to you. Trump said, my revenge will be success. These are bad people. And he said, it's going to be success will be the best revenge. Do you think that's how this plays out?
It's the only way that it can play out because, as I think most of us on the panel have accepted, there is not going to be some fair legal conclusion to all of this. The only way that this plays out is if the political system in America is not wholly corrupt. It's only substantially corrupt. Biden smirks when he jokes about jailing his political opponents, but it's not wholly corrupt, and the American people can bring enough civil pressure to bear to push this guy back into the Oval Office. That is going to be the only way that this ends.
If he doesn't win the election, Michael will absolutely respect the results of
Well, you know what he'll say,
win,
Francesca?
correct?
And this time with good reason. He'll say, hey, for 2 months of the election year, when I should have been campaigning, I was being put through a criminal court trial over having sex with a porn star 20 years ago. And you know what? A lot more people will have empathy with him this time than when he falsely claimed he had the 2020 election stolen from him without any evidence. So unfortunately,
Absolutely. I mean, who among us
again,
hasn't...
the Democrat machine to shut Trump down has played right into his hands. But anyway, we've got to leave it there. Brilliant debate. Thank you all so much. Kevin O'Leary, Mark Garagos, Francesca Fiorentini.
What a stupid bitch!
I am your voice.
You are not allowed to use your own financial, like your own money to pay off somebody.